Well, hello, and I want to introduce to you Tristan from Purpose Advisory. Tristan has been using Year Glance for at least a year now. We've had a few conversations back and forth, which has been really fun. So, welcome, Tristan.
Hey Evan, it's nice to be able to chat with you. I've always seen you as an inspirational figure. It's really nice to speak face to face with you. I actually, to be honest, had a little bit of like that fanboy. Oh, I get to speak with Evan when you reached out the first time. And so from that point of view, I'm glad to be here. I'm also really glad to be able to offer my feedback and thoughts because I really appreciate the tool. I think it's a very clever tool. Surprised no one else has done it, and I'm keen to help how possible.
Oh, that's really cool. Thank you. I don't think I've ever had a fanboy before, but happy for you to be my first.
Yeah. No, look, to be honest, it's the way that you present. The very first interactions I had with your content positioned you really well. And so I had you in that sort of Tony Robbins-esque stance in my mind without even, I don't think I saw video. It was just the way that your content and your website presented you. So well done.
Wow, that's really lovely of you to say. Thank you. Well, a little bit about you now. I'd love to hear what you do and like what your driving purpose is in life.
Oh, wow. Great question. So I'm a financial advisor and life coach. We run a small team, me and two of my good mates, and we've got a back end support staff as well. We help people plan their lives, get clear on their identity and their purpose, and then we assist them with the how of living out that purpose for their lives. Um, that that type of work. So a lot of it is, I guess, from a technical point of view, it's learning how to budget and investing smart, having good beliefs and mindsets around the way you manage money. And then it broadens as well into, I guess, relationships, generally with spouse and friends and family, beliefs around how we interact with the world, our career and things like that. And then also extends to our habits and that sort of area. But I'd say our niche is very much bringing together the world of money and the world of life organization together. Um, Personally, I guess that's a reflection of my purpose. What I want to be able to do is inspire people to live their best life. But more particularly, I think the part that calls out to my heart the most is when I can help to see people have great connections in their marriage. That's a big one. And in particular, can step into the role of parent as a father or a mother, um, and show up the best they can. So they feel confident about the way they're living. They feel like they have a lot to offer. And then they genuinely have the wisdom to share, to example to their children how to be a great human being, how to love, how to thrive, and amplify that, right?
Love it. That is so cool and like a really great combination of passions and skills that you're bringing together into that that what you give to people. So that's fantastic. How long have you been doing that for, Tristan?
We started the business about 3 years ago. Prior to that, I was advising for about 5.5 years. So I'd say close to 9 years of this type of interaction, but it's probably been the last four. So a year before we started the business where I really started to bring those two, like the advice plus the coaching together.
Fantastic. That's really great. All right. So how did you how did you come across Year Glance? Because it's only been Year Glance for, I don't know, less than a year now.
Right.
And you've been using it before then and there's been zero marketing on it. What happened?
It's a good question. So I would have found you off, you'll have to help me. Was it a blog or you had some sort of site, and probably a funnel that you had? So I was intently looking for a tool for my end of year planning. And this is all personal. This was not business at all.
Yeah.
My wife and I aim to plan out the year ahead in terms of our holidays, for a couple of reasons. I'll share the narrative because it's kind of cute.
Yeah, cool.
My wife craves and kind of like survives because of interaction with nature. Living in a city of Sydney, we're actually right near the beach, but still we live in a bustly part of the world. You don't get a lot of it. And so retreating and getting out to nature is huge for her. It's not that big for me. And so in the first few years of our marriage, I really failed at providing her that space. She's more inclined to do for everyone else and not for her. So really, it fell to me to plan our year, to have those checkpoints. And at first it was once or twice a year. But when I started getting some proper life coaching, we realized, hey, we need a framework for how we do our lives. Because personally, Tristan's a chaos monkey. I don't have structure if I don't make it. And so we needed to put like quite strict structures, and we agreed to do one night away per month and then a weekend away every quarter, which Renee got quite excited about. And then once we started doing it, she really stepped up. Like her life just got better, and we really enjoyed the experiences. It was just good for us. So we wanted to be able to plan ahead a good year in advance to do that. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. It gets away from you. You know, even once you've locked it in the calendar and you know what's coming up, you still have to put the effort in to book the location and do everything else.
Yeah.
Locking it in and knowing that they'll fit was important. And the complexity at the time, just so you know, the use case was that both Renee and I are people who love running events. So she'd run heaps of women's empowerment groups, very kind of collegial. I did a bit of that. We also did some couple type events, but I also did some business style events, which were presentation oriented, and a lot of them were on weekends. So you have all these like Renee's events, Tristan's events, plus family stuff and life stuff. And you got to find the, you know, once a month and once a quarter, and fit them in. And so we wanted a tool that we could sit down and see the year before it's all happened, know what's coming up, because some of my stuff is booked in, some of her stuff will happen on a fortnightly or, you know, monthly basis, the first Thursday of the month, you know, all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
We wanted something that could pull all our info, give us something clear and visual, and let us kind of select where we're going to do our getaways. And that was it. That was what we needed, and it was important. So I went
very important. Yes.
Yeah. And that's when I came across whatever it was, your blog, your content, and your tool was there, and it was rudimentary, but it did the job. It pulled in my Google Calendar. I had to really like rework the data that I was putting in my Google Calendar for it to show up. You've since really evolved your tool a lot more, so it's much more seamless. But it was great. I was like, cool, this actually solves the problem. I'm inspired and I'm intrigued, and this guy's pretty cool. I'm his fanboy. So that was the story.
So brilliant. Yeah, it's having the complexities of having multiple schedules and really wanting to be deliberate about the future. And yeah, I mean, it's almost the exact reason why I created that for myself, because Joe and I, at the end of each year, we sort of sit down and want to map out what the year looks like. And we've got, you know, kids as well in the mix. So there's multiple things that we need to take into account. So yeah, like it's a very similar journey and reasoning moving forward. So yeah, that's exactly why I created it. And it was, yeah, sort of just sitting in this random little thing on the side of my website with no SEO, no marketing. I think I might have put one LinkedIn post up or something like that. Yeah. So you're using Yearglance. Have you seen a need for other people to utilize this, particularly in your coaching business?
It's a good question. Not yet, or at least I haven't put the pieces together in my mind.
Yeah.
What I shared is effectively something that I encourage our clients to implement, some form of structure around their holidays in particular, and to prioritize time together and time away. A lot of people like to try and make it happen. We don't really, I guess, get close to making sure they implement. So we're not as involved in that side of thing. I do that when it comes to their finances, but I don't get so closely involved in the implementation of their, you know, personal calendar management. That might happen more over time. And so as a result, I'm not getting so close into the weeds. I haven't specified the tools to do it. And other than that specific context, I haven't seen a single other problem in our business where I thought, oh, we should use the Yearglance for that. I think there's two main factors for that. One is that I don't have a big enough screen. I like the tool and I know what it's for in my mind, and that's good enough. But because it's still on my little screen, it's like, oh, if I had a big screen on the wall, I may as well just have Yearglance up all the time. It's the sort of tool that could be useful for that, right?
Yeah.
We also don't work in the same office, so we're very remote. It's not necessarily a physical, visual environment for us. It's all digital. So that's part of it. And the other is, I don't think I've really given it the thought until you asked this question. So after this meeting, I'll probably give it a little bit more thought. We're also doing a vision and planning day over the summer for our business, and I'll be curious to see if it becomes relevant for our business calendar of events.
Yeah, cool. So I'm just curious as well. Then, when you sort of produce your calendar on Year Glance, is that something you print out and then use as planning with your wife, or do you just PDF it? How do you use that
Yeah, great
at the
question.
end?
No, the end result for me is just about getting the items that we commit to in my calendar. That's all that matters, because I kind of just want things in my calendar to tell me what's going to come up. I just like to be fully free to live my life and only need to know what's coming up next. As long as the system is locking everything in place, I feel good. Um, Meanwhile, for Renee, she loves to have it physical in front of her. So she doesn't necessarily use the Year Glance. She'll permit me to use it and kind of like every now and then peek, but she wants to be able to see it in her world. So she typically has one of those like little 2021 diary things, or maybe like a big A3 or A2. And she'll replicate whatever I'm doing in the digital on her physical one. So for her, it's like a parallel. As a result, we don't print it. If my wife was like as digital as I am, I don't think we would print the actual Year Glance, but we'd probably find a digital space to have it visible and pop up from time to time. As I said, the use case for me is much more the planning than it is regularly checking that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and that was the same with me for my purpose of building it. Like to review it, at the end of each year. And I've got another friend of mine who doesn't use Year Glance necessarily, but does that routine every quarter, which I think is a really smart thing to do because plans change over time, and you need to adapt to that. So
Totally.
yeah, that's really cool.
Can I throw one little thought in there?
Please do.
Because this did cross my mind. There was one, I guess, suggestion, which on the side was that it'd be great to be able to have certain dates of the year, boxes of the year, different colors. I know that the Google Calendar items themselves can be different colors, and you could, in theory, do it by using different calendars, but they're still just the item. At the end of the day, like I'm thinking back to the old corporate diagrams people have. It's actually really cool to have like all of the orange boxes are really, if you just want to zoom out and focus on them, you can, and you can get a sense of where the orange boxes are, and same with the green boxes. So that was just a thought of a suggestion, because for me, I'd love to, for example, make all of my holidays yellow. The whole box be yellow. That would be the one main use case. But then the extension of that is, if the whole thing was a bit more color oriented, then it would make more sense to have the whole thing out and visual in my mind, because you can just take a literal glance at it and it gives you some quite useful data from a color contrast point of view.
Yeah. So at the moment you can change the work dates, which I think so you could say I'm working Monday to Friday, or you can change what the work dates and your off days are, which I think was a request that you put in.
Yeah, it was, because I do Tuesday till Saturday. So that's been really useful.
Yeah, cool. So then you're saying if there was a way of doing key holiday dates to do the same sort of thing. Okay, we'll have to have a think about how that could be implemented. Yeah, like maybe we could take a calendar which you specify in Google, which has the holiday dates already in there, and instead of having like the line that goes across multiple days, if there's a way of sort of switching that to show the full block color for that. Yeah,
that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, okay, cool. We're gonna take that on board and put it in the roadmap.
That's really the thought there. One of the things that I've always had to do is differentiate between a typical Google Calendar item and then one of the holidays that we're actually trying to map. Because once I put them in my calendar, as you know, the evening or whatever, they just show up in Year Glance as another block. So it doesn't necessarily tell me from that zoom out, just look at a visual, these are where my holiday weekends are. Unless I put them in a totally separate calendar, like you said, and turned off the other calendars, then I can see where they all land.
Yeah, that's like, to start with, that's probably the easiest way to go, is just because you can add as many calendars in Google as you want. And then like for me, I've subscribed to like a Victorian public holidays one, and then I've also subscribed to the school term dates as well. So I didn't even have to input those dates in individually. So like I know then that's separate to if you're mapping out your own holidays. But yeah, there's there's a few ways to do it. But that's a really good suggestion. So last question, and I was asked this question in an interview I had a couple of weeks ago, and the question is: you're sitting down to a nice dinner on New Year's Eve, 2020, moving into 2021, and someone asks you, "What do you toast for the new year based on 2020?" What do you toast to?
Can you actually help me? To be honest, I've never done a toast before, so I don't even know what they're really for. I know that people have different ideas of it. Can you just give me your dump of what a toast is all about?
I guess it's a combination of it's a reflection and it's a learning and a celebration. Maybe it's a combination of all those sorts of things.
Yeah. Okay. Because what I would normally do is just give thanks. So I guess I give thanks for an incredible year. I hope that my daughter's still up. She's only 2, but it's probably a 9 p.m. dinner. We've kept her up late to enjoy the moment, and she's not making a ruckus. And I'll give great thanks to her and for her, to my wife and for her. Hopefully, the table is surrounded by some close friends who've been through some of the challenging moments of our lives, and I'll be able to give thanks to each of them, the role they've played, and just who they are in my life, and give thanks to the beautiful gift of life that God's given me, and for the opportunities that are to come. And I wouldn't focus too much on the year ahead. I definitely have a sense of hope, expectation, and excitement for what's to come. By that point, I'll probably have a really clear run sheet of what I want to achieve. But in that moment, I think I'd leave it to this sense of deep gratitude of what this year has been.
I love that. And I would love to be at that table at 9 p.m. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Tristan, thank you so much for your time. It's been really great to meet you and just share some of life's journeys and a little bit about Uglance as well. So thank you so much.
Likewise, Evan. And look, to that extent, I think I've written it once or twice, but thank you for having created the tool. It's been a great asset to Renee and I. You now understand the story of how and where it has. But beyond that sort of trite comment about being a fanboy, what did inspire me about you was the style of your communication, your ability to be able to pull together information very effectively. Even my very haphazard comments and thoughts, you're able to summarize them very concisely, and most importantly, execute. I give a lot of feedback to a lot of different places. I'm one of those people who can be very annoying if someone doesn't want feedback, and an amazing asset if they're hungry for it. I can tell you're hungry for it because you listen well, but then you do something about it. And I don't know many companies out there. There's probably 2 or 3 that properly execute alongside you, and you're right up there, probably as equally first in how well and how not just how quickly, but how in line with my vision of what I was hoping for you can execute and taking it beyond. So you're definitely a great product developer, and you probably have a great team. So credit to you, but I just want to say you're an incredible listener. Really amazing skill. I'm glad to have it. And it's a gift. It's something I really appreciate.
Thank you so much. I did not pay you to say that.